Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for this evening's performance. My name is Tim Locklear, and I'm the Managing Artistic Director for North Raleigh Arts and Creative Theater. I'm coming to you from the set of our last production at the theater, Freaky Friday, on March 16th of this year. Along with theaters across the United States, we had to close our doors due to the pandemic. It is so vital that we keep the arts alive, and we're doing it in every way possible. And right now, we're able to do it virtually. So we thank you for joining us for this production. Because of the pandemic, so many theaters, especially here in the Triangle, are in need of your support. So if you're able to, we ask that you support all arts organizations here within the Triangle. If you are so inclined, please go to our website at nract.org/donate. Thank you.
Okay, everyone, time to play some bingo. Everybody have a bingo card? How about a marker? Does everybody have a marker? All right, it's almost time to get started. So everybody take your seats now. Here we go.
Bingo, the play we're doing tonight, is a little offbeat for a play. In the first place, it takes place in a retirement community. The age in a retirement community is generally in the mid-80s and up. So with that in mind, I need to reassure you and ask you to be willing to believe a younger actor as he or she speaks the lines and emotions of a much older character. That also goes for this. We want you to be willing to believe that a man could easily and well portray a woman. Oh, I know, that's a bit of a stretch. Oh, but come on, give it a try. Remember, we all have similarities. Think about it. We all like to talk about ourselves. We all obsess over food and drink. We like to play bridge. We like to read books. And we play bingo for quarters. Now, that's where I draw the line. I will not play bingo. I know that sounds a little strange, and it really is, because I actually like the game. But in my mind, if I draw myself up to the bingo table, it is the same thing as saying, I give up. It's all over. You see, vanity persists and lasts even into the 90s. So we're going to offer you a little peephole into the emotions and the thoughts of the residents of this retirement community. Some will be sad and some will be funny. Just like real life. My role in this endeavor is, it's sort of a traffic cop. When things look like they're going to get off track, I jump in and try to put them back on the track. Not an easy job with these folks.
B15. B15.
Victor! Victor! Oh, there you are. How could you go off and leave me like that? Do you think that was nice? Do you want to break up with me? Do you? Do you? Is there someone new here? Will she push you around like I do? Like this? See?
N40.
He might be right here. There are just so many corners. Right around there are... I can almost feel it.
What is it, Polly? What are you seeking?
I don't know. How should I know? I'll know it when I see it. Maybe he's over here.
People might call that a lost soul, but that's inaccurate. She's a seeker. That makes her jittery and confused. Most people think they have whatever they need. Why seek? If they only knew. I find it difficult to understand why she didn't resist her husband's bigotry. I guess it's a question of loyalty or subservience. I never had that problem. My husband died before the tragedies began, so I played solitaire. The cards I played were peculiar, almost ridiculous. At age 66, I entered public politics. I decided to oppose Senator No. He was North Carolina's super bigot who wished ill for all homosexuals. Well, that included my deceased son, Mark. Of course, I failed politically, but I satisfied my soul.
And when I danced in the Follies, everyone clapped and clapped. I was beautiful. I loved being looked at. It was like they were hungry and I was good enough to eat. No one left me then.
Now that's a scary one. She's weighted down in this earth, imprisoned, I'd say. No seeking there, huh? Her reality is the past.
Who does he think he is, anyway? He's an old man stuck in a wheelchair. And he's sick, too. I don't know why I waste my time with him. Yes, I do.
I guess, in a way, she is seeking too. She's looking for herself. Landed in an old folks' home without ever finding out who she might have been.
The pickings here are pretty slim. I love to love someone. Otherwise, what would people think? That I was unwanted? Me?
I watch these humans and I listen to them, and sadly, I judge them.
Oh, 70.
My name is Bernice, but everybody likes to call me Bernie. You know, same name as that frumpy old politician. Although, come to think of it, we are the same age. But that's not what I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about a beautiful decoration that used to sit on that little chest in my apartment. Well, it was made of straw in the shape of a cat. Honestly, it looked so real. I like to talk to him, and I like to pet him, and I like to purr to him. Named him Tickly because of the straw. The first time I saw him was when the staff was decorating the lobby for Halloween. Oh, and when I saw him, I knew I had to have him. Sometimes you just know these things. So, he was sitting in a little pumpkin patch, and I walked over there and scooped him up and gave him his first little purr. Then I replaced him with some of the pumpkins, and off we went. Oh, we have been so happy. Until one day when I came back from lunch and he was gone. Someone must have taken him because he couldn't get off that little chest by himself. Well, I rushed right down to the office to tell them someone had stolen my cat. Jane and Betsy were there, and when I told them what happened, they looked at each other, kind of funny, and Betsy says, in a really snippy voice, "Bernice, you've got to stop stealing the lobby decorations. Well, my soul and body. Stealing? Tickly and I belong to each other, and anybody could see that. So I said that if they didn't help me find Tickly, I would report them to the executive director. Because I need Tickly. Immediately.
I-29.
I'm Dorothy Jean. I've been here since the community opened. In the beginning, anyone who applied to live here had to take a mental examination. That was because we were classified as independent living, not assisted, and certainly not memory care. Things have really changed. Nowadays, if you can pay the bill, the door is open. Well, I passed the exam, no surprise there. I used to work at the Brookings Institute in Washington as a writer. But time passed, as it insists on doing, and George and I came here to finish out the course. The good times were over, though. Shortly after moving in here, George began to fail. His body and his brain gave out together, and my daughter Lainey and I had to put him into one of those special places. It wasn't easy because we had been together a long time. He went down pretty fast, and I never knew when the phone rang if it was the end. Oh, it did ring one day, with a message that I had better call the relatives and make the final arrangements. He was not expected to last more than a day or two. I got busy and called everybody, got out my black mourning clothes, and sat down by the phone to wait the final call. One day passed, and then another, and finally the call came, only to tell me that George had rallied and things were looking up. Well, I almost went into a decline myself. What was I to do? The relatives were on the way. The priest had planned the service, reserved the church, and George was better. Of course I got through it. We always do. George lived 6 more months and finally died. I called the relatives again, got my mourning wardrobe out again, and wore it for the proper year.
Oh, 72.
If I didn't feel sick all the time, I think I'd be happy in this place. I'm old, but so is everyone else in this warehouse. And even though a lot of the residents don't know what day it is, there are a few who are with it. We know who the president is, and we still read books. You know what I mean. We can still pass as normal. But I'm different. I'm dying. I have cancer. My doctors order tests all the time, and they try all kinds of transfusions, but my hair is falling out, and I hurt all the time. But you know what drives me nuts? There's this woman here who keeps hopping up in my face saying, "Oh, Shirley, you look wonderful." It's a bald-faced lie, and I know it. I just wish she would leave me alone.
Oh, Shirley, she's just trying to help you pick up your spirits. You know that.
Oh, I know that, but the thing is, she just makes me feel worse. I'm never going to look wonderful again. I try to remember what it was like to feel real and not this make-believe version of myself.
I tell you what, didn't you used to run the music program at your church?
Oh, yes, that was real and wonderful, too.
And didn't you sing in the choir?
Sing? Sing? Well, I fairly warbled. Mm-hmm.
Do you remember any of the songs you used to warble?
Like I remember my name.
Sing one for me.
Here? Now?
Now.
Well, there was one.
Sing it, Shirley. Sing it.
Oh, okay. Let's see. It started like Mm. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. Give me that old time religion. It's good enough for me.
Shirley, that was marvelous. Oh, you have got to join the second floor choir. They need you. And I think you need them.
Well, maybe. I might. I used to love to sing.
Maud wanted to be an actress when she was young, but her parents would not have it.
B8.
I grew up in the 50s. There were so many gorgeous movie stars. When I was younger, I just wanted to be just like them. Oh, Audrey Hepburn, Marilyn Monroe, Natalie Wood, Sophia Loren. Oh, God, she was my favorite. So beautiful. I wanted to be an actress, but I doubted myself. My parents didn't believe in it. They thought I should just go to college, get an MRS degree, get married, have a family. Back then, independent women just didn't exist. Oh, women have come a long way since then. I wish I'd known better, had better guidance. But I have no regrets, though. Maybe in the next life.
G59.
When I first arrived here, one of the residents could not rush over quickly enough to introduce herself. Selma was a small woman in a flowery dress with a very flowery Southern accent. I found out soon enough that she had been a preacher's wife. She was the daughter of a preacher, and she was now a self-appointed one-woman welcoming committee. "Oh, it's so nice to meet you. My name is Selma. What church do you go to?" Well, I thought to myself, what kind of a thing to ask right away? I decided to respond honestly, but as pleasantly as I could. "I don't go to church." I think I shocked her a little. "Well, why not?" "I don't want to." "Why, girl, what's wrong with you?" Not a thing. And that was that.
The one thing I have that puts me above the rest is I still have a sexual vitality. Let me give you an example. Not long ago, I was sitting in the doctor's office. Next to me was this very attractive man, maybe 20 or so years younger than me. We started a conversation, like, where are you from? Do you like to read? And as we continued, I became aware, as women do, that he was flirting with me. I am so glad I did a good job on my makeup that morning.
Oh, I know that one. She thinks the world revolves around her. She even claims a special seat in the dining room. I speak from personal experience because one night I got into dinner before she did, and I sat in her chair. Well, she walked over to me and she stood there and looked at me, looking as if a terrible mistake had been made. I hate to confess, but I stared her down. That was small of me, wasn't it? Oh dear, this place is getting to me.
Oh, 66.
I eat dinner with Myra. It's really the only contact I have during the day. Well, except for when they take me to the doctor or the dentist, and that's when I... Well, anyway, back to Myra. Myra has a lot to say about a lot. She really does. News, food, the rent increase in this place, 6.5%. And I didn't know anything to talk back to her about. I tried to think of something to say that could make me a part of the chit-chat. Well, I finally remembered something. It was the story of the time that my boo got caught in the washing machine wringer. Yep, you heard me right. That one. It got caught in the wringer. I had on a moo-moo. Remember those big and loose and sort of fly away? Well, I had leaned over and the moo-moo got caught in the wringer and it just sort of pulled my boob in with it. And that's why this one is longer than this one. Well, Myra thought it was hilarious. She laughed and laughed, and I knew she thought I was making it up. But I wasn't. I really wasn't.
25.
I kept Thelma's cat, Bartholomew, Bart for short. Yes, Bart is up in my room. They allow that, you know. Bastard of a cat. I have zero emotional attachment to this animal. When Thelma was alive, she used to bring him birthday presents. But I still keep the cat because, well, Thelma loved him. I hate the way he will sit silently in the middle of the room and look around. Not really doing anything, but you know he's thinking. Probably trying to figure how to kill me. First thing every morning, he jumps up on my bed and stands on my chest, staring first. Then, meowing. Then, meowing. Louder if I don't respond. He's like some kind of shitty alarm clock, and he'll just keep doing this until I get up and feed him breakfast. Then I have to listen to that crunch while he chews. Now, his shit box is in my bathroom, and that cat has taken more shits in my bathroom than I have. Well, Bart is 10 years old, so hell, he still probably has 6 years left on him. When I know that he's asleep, I'll creep over and whisper, "Run away," in his ear. And sometimes I tell him stories about how great it is outside. Bart has never showed me any actual affection. And every time I get close to this ferocious animal, he jumps up and claws my balls. Each and every time. Nobody would believe. Nobody. But I can take it. I'm old school, baby.
Dorothy Jean is worried about her friend.
Yesterday, when I looked across the table at her, she looked different. More animated, younger. And then she started to tell me the story. She had drawn on her eyebrows that day. We lose them, you know. Or did you? Well, back to the story. I didn't know where she was headed at first, but quickly the phrasing sounded familiar, and then I knew. I was watching the deterioration of a human being. For the first time in our long acquaintance, she was rambling and repeating. She told me the same thing 3 times in rapid succession. I had never watched such loss all in one encounter. I asked myself, should I stop her and say, "You already told me that"? No. She was enjoying the telling and retelling so much. I smiled and nodded at the right places and felt very sad. The next night, she was normal again. Is that the way our lives go?
Now, there aren't many male residents here, so as a widower, I am fair game for all the hens. Some of the ladies are on the prowl for the single men. Now, I may look old, but I still have my hair and I have my hearing. Now, don't ask me why, but everything else seems to have gone. And I could do without my hearing at this point. not to be rude or politically incorrect, but old ladies have those voices. Ladies' voices, that can pierce steel armor and refuse to let up for what seems to be hours at a time. We have a gaggle of three here that are famous for their aggressive tactics. They scope men out and plot their strategies. One brings me cookies, which I can't eat with these old choppers. Another arranges to sit beside me at happy hour, and another at ice cream socials. Well, I love my ice cream, but there's no sense getting to ice cream social early, eating my Sunday, and getting out. In this place, they line up an hour in advance, like ice cream is some kind of ration commodity. And, well, it kind of is, actually. So here's what I did. I made friends with the kitchen staff, and they make me a special sundae called the Carl. 2 scoops of vanilla, sprinkles, and 3 cherries, and no chocolate syrup. And I go around to the back door after the social's over, and they bring the Carl out to the back door to me. And I sneak up to my room, and yes, I share it with Bart. Bart likes ice cream, but no chocolate syrup now. That's not good for cats.
Polly often speaks about her son. It doesn't always make sense, but the nurse understands, and she'll take Polly's hand and stroke it and make her feel just a little calmer. You see, Polly's son was gay, and his father could not accept that. He told his son, "Leave, never come back. You are no longer my son." So he left, and he did not ever come back. Polly never saw him again. Thus the search. Polly hears what the nurse says. It's just a scene that Polly plays over and over in her head again, seeking, always seeking for that son.
I was a cheerleader in high school. Did you know that? I fell in love with the history teacher. It was the first year of teaching. He was so young and handsome. I was a senior. After I graduated, we got married.
Polly is one of those people who is always smiling. She knows lots of people, and she always gives them a great big cheerleader type smile. One time, I remember, she left the stovetop burner on with an old piece of pizza reheating itself on there. Well, the smoke became obvious. Somebody called the maintenance man. He came running down the hall, ran into Polly's apartment, and averted a tragedy. We would have had an apartment on fire. Polly had gone out walking.
G55.
I've always been a responsible driver. I've driven for more than 60 years. This kid turned in front of me, against the light. 6 damn stitches to the head, my pickup completely totaled. The damn kid was probably texting on his iPod, I swear to you. My daughter and son-in-law decided I shouldn't drive anymore. But it wasn't my fault.
N32.
I'll tell you what's really going on here. That damned Obamacare. All them Democrats think it's A-OK to go running off to the dock every time they get a cold coming on. Get a pal, get them on the government list. That's not how we do things here in America. We don't just throw good money after bad, like my pa always said. My pa once sliced his leg open on a combine. Know what he done? Patched it up with some cobwebs and sealed her on up with some wet shawl. Of course, he died about a week later. But you can't say he was weak about it.
Remember me? I'm Bella, the one with the long boob. Well, I forgot to tell you that once I started talking to Myra. I couldn't stop. I was like a broken pipe that just couldn't be turned off. And so I decided to tell her about the ashes I keep in my room. And that was Bob. And then I thought that maybe Myra might like to know that Bob and I were virgins when we got married. Myra really laughed at that. I guess it's because she's only 76 and I'm 97. Big difference.
I know I hit him, but he turned against the light. He did. They asked me if my license had expired. They treated me not even like a criminal, like a child. Like because I'm the one who lived, I have to be senile or something. Just because I couldn't stop a kid from being too stupid to pay attention to his own life right in front of him.
I'm on 9 prescriptions. 9! You almost need a scorecard to keep track. Heck, I could start my own baseball team. And every pill I take has side effects. Dry mouth, irritability, dizziness, indigestion, impotence, urinary problems, difficulty breathing. And I'm thinking to myself, that's why I'm taking these darn pills.
G56.
Do you know why I'm here? The ghost of Lee Harvey Oswald was haunting my house. Of course, my children didn't believe me. I should never even have told them. Sarah, the oldest, she has this way of looking at her brothers like she doesn't think I can see her. They were just waiting for me to walk out of the room so they could discuss what nursing home to put me in. They think I can't handle that big old house now that I'm by myself. But the house isn't my problem. 4 generations of my family lived there, and 2 of my husbands. And a house is more than just foundation and boards. Why 4 generations can turn a house into a ghost house before there's even a ghost to house. Like, they're the scrapes in the floor from when my grandfather used to limp around dragging his wooden foot. Oh, he was a veteran. He was a furious man. He was so hard on my father. And then there are the smears on the wallpaper, just at shoulder height from my mother, who was practically a ghost herself. She always used to lean against it as she walked around as though it would keep her from disappearing through the floorboards. And then there are the little scratches in the coat closet from where I used to hide when Mama and Daddy would fight. But this was prime real estate for a ghost like Lee Harvey Oswald. And I know it was Lee Harvey Oswald because he introduced himself with 3 gunshots. I heard the first one when I was upstairs, and then as I was on my way down, I heard the second one coming from under the sink. And then when I opened the cupboard, I heard the third.
I remember a time I was talking with my friend Sophie. Now, Sophie was an elegant lady. She dressed perfectly. Her hair was always in place. Her makeup was marvelous. And a little thing she added, always had this wonderful wide belt around her waist, which was very slender for a lady in her 90s. Okay. One time I said, Sophie, what do you do with your life for fun? She said, oh, I'm a writer. And I said, a writer? Wow, how wonderful. What have you written? Well, I wrote a book. Was it published? Oh, yes, it was published. Ooh, Sophie, that's wonderful. What was it about? Sex. Sex? Did you say sex? I did. It explained to older people how life goes right on. Sex is as good at the 90s as it was in the 30s. So there.
B9.
I'm Sophie. I have never stopped wanting to love and be loved. I am 96 now, and that passion is just as strong as when I was 26. I think I must put out vibes that tells a man that, because there's always one around to satisfy that passion. The people here don't know about my book. They keep all those wonderful thoughts under the covers. Not me. The more you talk about it, the better it gets. Trust me, I know. When my husband died, about 15 years ago, I really wasn't willing to give up that part of my life. So I began to look around and I found a very fertile field and I began to cultivate it. All I had to do was keep myself looking nice. That's easy, don't you think? And listen to their stories. I remember one catch that was special fun. Bert. He was very tall and rather elegant in bearing. We hit it off right away. I like a man who is gallant, opens doors, lets me go first, compliments my perfume. You know, the rosy routine. It didn't take long for Bert and me to assure ourselves that we were meant for each other and that the big power in the sky had brought us together and it was forever. That's such a romantic thought, isn't it? I just love it. The best part of life is wine and roses. But at this age, you can't mess around getting to know each other. The one thing I wanted to make sure of before we slept together was that our various children approved. So we asked them, and they did. None of them seemed surprised. Isn't it funny that younger people often don't like to think that their parents still like to drink a bit or have sex too? But not our kids. They were glad to have us happily occupied and off of their hands. Of course, it never lasts. After the usual amount of time, my eye began to wander. As the cliche goes, variety is still the spice of life. And lo and behold, there was, what was his name? Oh, yes, Lloyd. That's right, Lloyd. Lloyd was so sweet.
That's enough, Sophie. We get the point.
But I haven't told you about George and Joe. Joe. Now he was special.
G58.
My miserly son finally came and gave me some of my money. It makes me so mad. Now, when he put me in here, he sold my car and I didn't see a bit of that money. Now, my son, he's a German. Germans are like that, you know. Oh, you didn't know that? Germans are kind of bossy and mean sometimes.
The problem is everybody's on the smartphone these days. Now, my granddaughter, Rain, she has one, and she's only 9 years old. 9! She should be playing outside in the sunshine, don't you think?
Did you see what my granddaughter Jalen wrote in her face page? Look at this. You a stupid hoe. Just says that. Over and over again. Is it a poem?
My doctor's office called and told me I was due for a colonoscopy. I said, fine, bring it on. I started in Korea. I'm ready for this. I did the fasting, and I drank that disgusting lemon drink they call Prep. Let's just say it cleans you out better than a box of prunes.
It isn't healthy for people to stare at screens all day. I read a thing that says it can lead to blindness or cancer. Either way, seems like a bad thing, doesn't it?
I don't like seeing my granddaughter writing stuff like that where everyone can see it. What if she tries to find a job? Who's going to hire someone who writes garbage like that? How can everything on the internet be this damnably inane?
As soon as we get there, they make me lay down on this table and wait for the doctor. They hook me up to the IV and make me wait 45 minutes in a freezing room. And finally, the doctor comes in.
No one just sits with their thoughts anymore. Now, if you're in a line or on the bus, you're just texting or something instead of making conversation like this, you know, talking to people, making connections.
The next thing I know, I'm laying sideways on a table with a little TV set next to me. And then this Indian doctor says that she is going to twilight me.
The other day, I gave my little grandson a book to play with, and he tried to swipe the pages instead of turning them.
I might change my will. That'd really show him, huh?
So I watch this video camera as it goes on its expedition through the Carolinas, into Virginia, Maryland, New York, bound for New England.
Huh. Would you look at that? Nothing else in her face page but pictures of herself and cat videos. It's like the rest of it doesn't even matter. God, that's kind of sad, isn't it? News feeds directly from Liberia to your computer screen, and everyone's still just looking at pointless videos of stupid cats. Have you seen this? The kitten being chased by a lizard? Hey, you should see this. It's actually pretty funny.
Now my daughter, she comes to see me every week and gets my laundry. Now, she's 20 years younger than my son. Different dads, you see. Now, the second one, he was good to me. Real good. Not like that first one. He was German. You know, he was German.
Oh, 71.
I knit socks all the time. See? You can knit socks toe up, cuff down, or from the middle out. You can knit stockinette socks, socks with cables, socks with lace, and socks with texture. You can knit socks with fingering yarn, sports yarn, and even bulky yarn if you want slipper socks. The magic of sock knitting is this: the turn of the heel. To me, it is a miracle that a straight piece of knitting can turn and head in a new direction. There is something almost mystical about turning the heel on a sock. Turning a heel can scare newbie knitters away, but I say, don't be afraid. There are many ways to turn a heel. I've learned probably 10 different ways, and each one is magical. I don't know of anyone who hasn't turned a heel and then stopped to admire the simplicity and the mystery of it. It is always a moment in my knitting where I stop and pause and admire and reflect. Isn't it interesting that heel has the homophone heel? Perhaps that's why I knit socks, to heal. To heal my feet, to heal a friendship, to heal my heart. I knit socks for family members, my granddaughter, my son, my daughter-in-law, my brother. Some are gone now. I knit socks for friends as well, good friends. Not because they ask, but because often when I'm knitting a pair of socks, I find myself thinking of them. The sock seeks its owner, you know. Oh, I've made a mistake. I'll have to tink. That means to unknit. It's knit spelled backwards. Tink. Sometimes you have to tink to get to the mistake. When you make a big mistake, sometimes you just have to unravel it. Sometimes the unraveled is fixable, sometimes not. Sometimes relationships unravel because we don't take enough care, or it doesn't fit, or it's just not for us. Sometimes lives unravel in ways that we hadn't thought possible. They say minds can unravel, but perhaps the person is simply following a thread that leads them in a new direction, like a turn of the heel. I knit socks because there is a mystery in it, an adventure each and every time. I knit socks because in each and every stitch, every pattern, every turn, there is a lesson or a memory, just like life.
N38.
I used to spit when I was a little girl. You know that moment when your mouth fills up with too much phlegm? You are running as fast as you can, flying through the wheat fields, all knees and elbows, and you just want to see that wad of mucus go soaring over the brown stalks, streak toward the sunset. Not that we said mucus when I was a little girl, or phlegm for that matter. We didn't have any word for it at all. Except don't. That's all Mama used to say anyway. It was almost always followed by, "That's not ladylike. Who's gonna want you spitting like that?" Turns out running wasn't ladylike either. Legs and arms akimbo, dresses smudged with dirt. I learned to walk with careful steps and to tisk softly when grass stains smudged the hem of my skirt. I thought it would be different when I married Daniel. The first night, bursting with the freedom of it, me alone with my husband in our very own home, I leaped onto the bed and bounced the mattress good and hard. I remember a disapproving expression as he said, "Doris, stop acting like a child. You're a grown woman." I slapped my girls silly when they went out of the house without a girdle, hose, gloves. I slapped them when they did cartwheels in skirts, chewed gum, or laughed in church. They were serious, sober girls. They made good marriages. Their children were quiet. Mama's been in the ground for decades. Daniel passed away 14 years ago next April. He was a badass. Last week, my granddaughter visited during Easter weekend. We were having a cup of tea by the window, and I looked out and I saw my great-granddaughter running around in the field behind the parking lot. As she ran through the tall grass, she held her hands out away from her sides like she was flying. She was wearing her white Easter dress, and the ribbons on her sleeves were streaming behind her in the breeze. For a moment, my face felt warm, and wind was in my hair. The grass tickled my legs, but only for a moment. That's all it was.
I want to go dancing. Just because I look old doesn't mean I feel old. In fact, I am going dancing. I've got my outfit picked out, my hair done, and my friend Lorraine is coming to pick me up in exactly 1 hour. You can stay old and dry and wither away if you want to. Or you can come with me tonight and dance the mood away. I know you're not one for clubbing, as they call it, and you never were one much for socializing, were you? But I don't know what's gotten into me lately. I feel like I want to do something, and I'm not talking about a cruise or a walk or a plane ride, something to get the blood pumping and have a drink or two or three. Oh, I want to lose myself on the dance floor, and we need to. If you can come with me, just this once, I promise I will never, ever ask you for anything else like this again. Just please allow me this one gift. Now, if you don't come, well, I can't promise that I won't be dancing with any of those other young men on the dance floor, because I intend to dance and to laugh and to be free. And you will just have to accept that fact. But I'd rather go with you. You still got some life left in us. A couple of old bastards like us. How about it?
I was there, you know, when President Kennedy was killed. That was with my first husband, Walter. We were visiting my sister, and Walter wanted to go see the motorcade go by. Well, he didn't vote for Kennedy or anything, but he liked the pomp and the cars. We didn't see the action, as you'd call it, but we heard everything, the screaming and the gunshots. And later they asked us how many shots we'd heard, and Walter said 2, but I said 3 because that's how many there were. He got so upset with me. He said I made him look less credible, so I told him that I was wrong and that there were 2 gunshots, but he said that made it worse, and why had I done that? And why had I opened my big fat mouth? Sarah says that banging in an old house doesn't mean that it's infested with Lee Harvey Oswald. That's what she said. Infested. She said it's the pipes, not gunshots. She offered to call a plumber. But I opened that cabinet door, and after the 3rd gunshot, I heard Lee Harvey's voice coming from in there, and he was yelling something in Russian. It sounded obscene, so I closed the door right away. I don't know why anyone cares about this. It certainly wasn't a big deal to me. He wasn't in the rest of the house. He stayed safely in the cupboard. It's not like he was the most dangerous person that ever lived. He was a troubled young man, and even that soul needs a dank corner to spend the afterlife in.
Look at me. I wear pretty clothes. I walk in pretty shoes. I smell good. I think I could pass as feminine, don't you? But I admit I have a degree in engineering, and that is not feminine, and it doesn't matter. I've been in the engineering field for close to 40 years, so I've seen a lot of changes in that time. A stay-at-home mom, a wife, that was the expected life course for us gals. Being an engineer when I first started out meant being a man, but I didn't let that stop me. I fetched the coffee. I answered the phone calls, but I also took on some real engineering work. And sometimes I felt like spitting in the coffee. I have a male partner that took credit for a project that I led. That happened more than once. But I kept my head down, did my best work, and gained their respect. It took me a while, but I made it. Yep, I'm gay. And they never knew it. I've been at the engineering firm for, probably 2 years when this young woman walked in. The new hire, they called her. Made me furious to see those middle-aged pricks looking her up and down, and I knew they were going to do to her the same thing they did to me. I wasn't going to let that happen. I vowed right then and there that I was going to watch out for her and smooth the way for her as best I could. Well, one night I went to a meeting in one of those bars, and there she was, the new hire. Back then, you had to be really a little bit more than discreet. You had to be incredibly careful. Well, there she was. At work, the new hire never gave the slightest indication about her private life. But here she was, and the speaker at the meeting was nice but uninformed. I overheard her saying to my friend that, oh, you don't look gay, but you're an engineer. Isn't that a bit odd for a woman? What's it like where you work? Oh, she snapped back. Oh, it's very domestic. I didn't get to answer the phone. And then she turned and walked away with a full-on dyke swagger. I was proud. You know, an important thing that I never saw was the closet door opening for gays. I hear that things are easier now. I hope so. I like to think that my generation smoothed the way a little bit. Polly, come here. I think I have what you're looking for. It's Nathan, isn't it? That's who you're looking for. Nathan, your boy.
Do you know him? Do you know Nate?
I met him once.
When? Where? Where is he?
I don't know where he is now. I met him at a meeting of people who were like him and me.
What do you mean? Like was it at a church? A fellowship?
Not exactly. More like a prayer group.
Oh, that's nice. His dad would like that. Can I go see him? It's been so long.
I don't know where he is, Polly, but I wanted to tell you that he talked about you a lot.
He did? He talked about me? Well, what did he say?
He said he had a great mom, that you were fun and made him laugh a lot.
We both did. Not now. I can't find him. It makes me so sad.
Would you feel better if you could think of him as happy?
Well, yes. But I can't see him, talk to him, tell him I'm sorry.
It's not going to happen, Polly.
Why?
Nathan died, Polly. He had AIDS. But Polly, he was not alone. He had really found himself. And with that, he found friends who understood him and cared about him. He belonged.
He belonged. That's good, isn't it?
Yes, Polly. That's good. I really know that. Belonging eases living. You don't have to hunt for it anymore. You can rest.
Scientists predict that the stars will be in unrecognizable constellations 100,000 years from now due to changes in the celestial sphere.
Many of the world's languages will no longer be in use.
I read somewhere that by 2100, 80% of the rainforest will be lost.
2090, religion is fading from European culture.
2084, conventional meat is becoming obsolete.
2080, some humans are more non-biological than biological.
By 2058, the Beatles' music library enters public domain.
By 2051, the U.S. population will reach 400 million.
2036, Alzheimer's disease is fully curable.
2035, millennials are enjoying an inheritance boom.
By 2031, chocolate will be a rare luxury.
By this time next year, the cancer will have spread throughout my body.
In 6 months, I'll tell you that the treatments are working and the fatigue isn't all that bad. I'll be lying.
I expect I'll continue to make many mistakes in my knitting and in my life.
A week from now, I'll tell you what I already told you last week. Or maybe 15 minutes ago.
I know what I'll do tonight. I think I'll stay in. I'll do a little reading in bed. Then I'll get up, come downstairs to the front door, open it, walk out, and look at the stars.
The one thing that everyone in this community thinks about every day, almost all day, is the end of life as we know it. Oh, we don't talk about it, because if we did, that would be acknowledging that our lives will end. But it's there. And if we get lucky, we bump into a resident who is willing to talk about possibilities. Example, will we reunite with those we have loved so much? Will we be reincarnated? And if we are, will we retain the memory of this life? Such conversations generally end up with someone saying, oh, who knows? And at that point, my mind wanders around between belief and faith. Now, I'm really not very good on those. I do know that faith does not require evidence. I find that to be a comfort. All of this returns me to one of my basic characteristics, a strong dislike of waste. To me, the ultimate waste would be not to build on all of the learning we have achieved in this life. I choose to believe in the opportunity to continue learning as I skip out that exit door.
Oh!
May it be so.
74.
Bingo.